Bienvenidos a otro episodio de Sin Libreto. Esta vez vamos a hacer un switch, nos vamos a cambiar 100% a inglés, así que los invitamos a tener paciencia y seguirnos. Vamos a tratar de hablar muy normal. So, this is welcome to our podcast. So, normally it's in Spanish. You're going to be our first guest in English. So that's what I was telling the people in the beginning. This is no script. This is a no script podcast, and the idea is to talk between friends. So first, who are you?
Yeah, so my name is Yuriy. I'm a CTO of a company called Sombra. We actually based in the Ukraine, so very far away from here in the Eastern Europe. And we do basically software development for companies in the United States, in Canada, and United Kingdom mostly. Basically, yes, so we work with a lot of engineers in our company and expand to serve more and more clients.
And how long have been you with Sombra?
I'm actually co-founder, so I co-founded it with my business partner Victor 10 years ago. It was 2014, yeah, and so basically, yeah, from the very beginning.
Why Colombia?
Why Colombia? That's a very interesting question, basically. So actually, we're working totally out of the Ukraine for 8 years and a half. But about 7 years ago, when we were visiting our clients in the United States, some of them were asking, "Hey, have you have offices in the, in our time zone, basically, like Latin America?" And my business partner Victor told, after a couple of such trips to the United States, that maybe we should open an office there, because basically the clients ask for it. This means that there is a demand for that, and maybe it could be a good idea. To be honest, at that time I thought like, whoa, because it's totally like different. It's like maybe the Ukraine is, just imagine going to the Ukraine if you have a company here. It's very different. I didn't know how it works, what are like the people here and everything. So I was like thinking, all right, is this like crazy idea or not? But over time, when we were speaking, we understood, okay, so there is a huge demand, for this. So we definitely should explore, I would say, engineering landscape here. And yeah, basically a year and a half, Victor, business partner, went to basically select the country where we start from. So he, I would say, if we decided from the countries that are closer to fly from the United States, obviously. So that's why we chose between like Mexico and Colombia. And actually we found that Colombia is very similar in a lot of aspects to the Ukraine. Very strange that may sound, but in the Ukraine, for instance, I would say the average salary is pretty low. I was speaking with Jean, who's working in our company, and so in the Ukraine, the average salary is about $300, I would say, which is pretty low. But for the IT, software development IT, you could get a bigger salary. That's why we have this boom for the engineering, which I think is really good for the country, because we are working with good software projects that are, bringing doing good for the humanity and everything. So it basically moves business forward, and that's really good. So that's why we see this boom in the Ukraine, and we see or we felt that there is similar thing here happening here. So this was basically a decision of our CEO, and we actually supported to start from here, basically.
And what have you found? Because I met with John, that was the country manager last year, and that you were eager to see the talent that we have here. What have you found here?
Amazed at the level of engineers. So we have currently about 15 engineers working out of the Colombia with us for the basically projects for our clients, and we were really amazed. So we don't see any difference with the engineers in the Ukraine. Basically, our clients. Basically, I'm just returned from the trip to the US where I met with the clients for about 2 weeks, and they really praise the work. I mean, the communication, everything. So that's really great, because I was also like, as a CTO, I am responsible for selecting people from the technology perspective, like basically technical interviews. This is my accountability. So I was like, when we had like the first interviews, was like, how it's going. And,
that's exactly. And the CTO in the CTO work is try to figure out that you have the same stack everywhere, and the level, and try to reduce the gaps, and try to have the small things in the technical depth of the team, or something like that. And that's really my question of what you found, because I know for sure that Ukraine people that has been one of the 2 or 3 countries that when you are in European company, you know for sure that the people, the engineers on Ukraine are very good ones, and for a long time they are like the normal competitors from the companies that we have here in Colombia. That when we want to go to Europe, that's one of the things that the salary wage that at the end that's the thing, because some of the clients that we met in my previous lives. That's one of the things they say. Why are you going to select like some Colombian team that my team in Ukraine is going to be cheaper, and those things, because they base it in there. That you have client in Spain, for example, that we speak the same language, but they prefer because the level of the engineering of Ukraine teams are very good. So in that level, how do you find that you think that the Colombian team is going to
I would say
have
that
that
they're
small
like
level
on the same level? I don't know, maybe because we select them rigorously. So and for now we hire senior and mid-level engineers. So we haven't yet tried to interview like the junior level engineers. So basically we will now build the senior level engineers, so that when juniors came, they have from whom to learn from. Obviously we basically transfer the knowledge, and like Colombian engineers work in the same teams with the Ukrainians, but I feel like that's it's good to have people here that will teach the junior people. So basically, I mean, like here, one of course thing is the language, like it's harder to select people with the English language, but that's not that different. Like I've looked at the statistics. So basically, for the senior engineer, we interview like to hire a senior engineer, we need to conduct like 11 interviews.
11.
Yeah. In the Ukraine, it's about 6, 7. So that's not, but like I would say the bigger thing. So basically, the biggest thing, like, is in the start to select people, because they're like really good engineers, but they have like lower level of English. That's why, I mean, we basically can't communicate well with them and conduct a technical interview well, because we couldn't understand them well. So I'm learning Spanish, by the way. So
we could try it.
Yo hablo un poco español, pero
not yet.
Inglés. And
that will be your third language. So
basically.
That's it's more complex.
So like, that way, but. To be honest, like this is one thing, but on the other, like we have designer working with us, we have a performance tester. So I'm talking about different stacks.
Building a team with different stacks.
Yeah, and like all of them are doing really, really good job. So and the clients also confirm that. So like that's really good. I mean,
what do you think is your biggest challenge opening a new office in the other side of the world? Because we are not very close enough, and in the time zone, I think it's 7 hours or something like that, 8 hours or something like that.
So now it's about like 8 p.m. So now it's the end of the day.
When I was working with this Spanish company, they were based in Barcelona, and one of the things that the CEO of the company will tell the people is they are very remote. They are actually, they don't have offices. They are a full remote company, but they are in the same time zones. He said, I cannot live with somebody in the other side of the world working on those things. I prefer to be in the topic. How how's the challenge?
I wouldn't say that it's really, well, of course, it's a little bit of challenge, but I mean, like, we always work with the US, so that's
with,
not a problem.
With clients there.
Yeah, so all our clients from the beginning, we were like targeting the US. Before Sombra, I was working as software engineers for many years, and we have like very distributed teams. Like we have people from South Africa, which is our time zone. We have people in the Singapore, which is like one side, and this were like the development teams, and we were delivering software for as well like the US clients, and there were like the UK clients as well. So there were like US UK companies. So it was like around the world, but we actually managed to do that pretty good. So. Here, I don't see a big difference. I mean, like 8 hours is, from the development perspective, is not a challenge because we have like 3 to 4 hours overlap. So our engineers used to start work a little bit later, like 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and then work to like 7 or 8 to accommodate like to the US and Colombia now. So I wouldn't say that's a really big problem. Yeah.
Perfect. And how will you define the DNA of the Sombra co-worker and the Sombra worker? Because I asked you this because our audience is they are junior developers, a lot of them, because they are learning to become in this path. They are eager to be part of this kind of companies. We have some senior developers and so on, but for the junior developer that is looking to, I could be one of the Sombra employees in the future. What is the DNA of one Sombra employee?
I would say basically, I would base it on the values of our company, which we built when we started, and we enforce them basically and follow them up until now. And our clients basically start to value these and like tell that these are our strong sides. So I would say basically, of course, the technical part is very important. Like if we're talking about software developer or engineer, like knowing the language or several languages is really important. Like for a junior engineer, of course, could be like one language, but like learn it very deeply, like be it Java, Python, like C# or JavaScript. It's very important to learn it very good and spend a lot of time and practice. Because I would say that's the easiest part from my experience, because you could basically do that when you're alone and you just code, learn different aspects of language, and then become proficient. Then you reach like the top level where you understand a lot. Then the frameworks, of course, that's all the technical part. But the very important thing that I felt brings a lot of value is basically communication and productivity. So because when you're like alone, like you know that there's this saying that when you're alone, you're not a warrior on the field. Basically, you need to have a team. Basically, so without a team, you could bring only so little value. So with the team, you could actually multiply because there's a synergy between engineers and everyone. And this is the case when in the team 1 + 1 equals not 2 but more. You know, like this synergy based.
We teach our students that this is not a game of one. That is you're not the rock star and I am the one that knows everything, but a teamwork. That's one of the things that right now they're called power skills, and that's the change of the skill first approach. Because as you said, you have to learn the basics of a lot of things. Let's go learn Java, because even if there are a lot of other different languages that do things faster and enough, but if you know the basics, you understand the how to troubleshoot some things and how to become to the basic. But that's easy to learn because you have to do a lot of practice, but you could go deep in that. It's because it's too difficult to have a great feedback, to understand that the feedback is not for you but to the project, that you have to improve the project, that you have to think in the client, but why they need this and what we need to improve the user experience on this level but not in this one, and have those tough conversations between the probably the Scrum Master or the business designer or so on, with the developer team, with the designer actually, but you have to be a teammate. You have to understand how to leverage the knowledge of one of your teammates, how to solve problems as a team, and not on that. So I love that's part of the Sombra staff, because it makes sense with what we do and not. The other question that the people is asking us a lot of in these days, as the NVIDIA CEO said, we are not going to need developers, but we are going to need the people that solve problems. So how you see Sombra doing the solving, the connecting, and have this deck of tools that you use to solve these kind of things, or how you're going to move in this new paradigm they are creating?
That's a good question, I would say. So basically why we enforce this proactivity and communication is basically because the goal, whenever you start any task in software development, you need to understand why are you doing it, like what value it brings to the business. Because in my experience in previous companies, I've seen a lot like people who just did some, task assigned to them in Jira or whatever. And when I ask, all right, I understand like you should do technically this and this, but how the end users will benefit from this? I mean, because I don't understand. They're like, I don't know, I don't care, like just complete this task. I mean, it's pretty clearly described and that's it. And I was like, okay, sorry, I can't do this, because I mean, I lose motivation when I don't understand how it brings value to the people, to the end users, or I mean to the end systems or something like that. So, and that's why I enforced it in our company, always communicate clearly with the client, and or it could be another department of the team that asks you to do something, to understand clearly why you need to do this task, I mean how it brings value, and so on and so forth, and then go to the technical details, because there could be the biggest, value gainers, I would say, on this thing, because very often you ask client, okay, but why should I need to do this? So, I mean, client says, do this thing, you see that it's a week of work, for instance. You ask, okay, but why should I do this? And he says because these users need this feature. And you say, I could do it another way, and I could spend 1 day. And he says, well, fantastic. I mean, really, I haven't thought about that, because he tried to, describe the solution for you or something like that. And then and this is a value gainer, which you can't gain with pure technology. And this is pure communication, because you just go to the client and talk for 15 minutes or half an hour. You need to be honest, because you need to honestly say, look, I don't understand why I'm doing this. And I understand for junior engineers that may be challenging to say.
You are afraid.
You're afraid basically to say it. But I mean, you need to learn to do that. Of course, if you're a senior engineer and everything, you could say that. But I mean, that's the biggest gap, what I said, learning the technical thing is complex, but it's the easier part.
But that's that transparency.
Yeah.
That was one word that it was tough to say, but transparency. Yeah. That transparency is what it separates you from a traditional kind of company, because that's why when you're a client, sometimes you ask for one thing because you read it in the magazine, because you saw that your competitor has, for right now in the example that in the world we are right now, that's AI. I have to put this AI to this thing here because I just need AI there. But when you have that transparent conversation that you say, what I want to do that. No. Let us work to a better user experience to create something different, and the technology is just an habilitator of those things, and that's one of the things that the people, as we were telling, that the junior level doesn't understand that this I could do it, but you don't have to. That's two different things that we could, because in technology there are not too many different or too many tough tasks that you could not do. Probably you are not going to need weeks to do it, but there are not those things, but you don't have to, because sometimes the client doesn't need that kind of thing. They are just asking because they don't know anything else. Or they ask the client because they read it or they imagine the different levels. So that's good. And in this world, when you started, how was that? Because gain clients in the States, and you are not been there, and you're not part of that world. How tough was that?
That's a good question, actually. So I've worked as an engineer for 8 years, I guess. So, and we work with the States, Australia, and Europe, Germany. So it wasn't like a very different experience for me from the pure software development perspective. My business partner, like CEO Victor, was also working as a software engineer, and but how does it start? Basically, we were registered on an Upwork, and we, as a freelancers, at that time it was Odesk, it's another name, and so we started looking for clients there, basically, and it was the easy part, so we managed to grow from 0 to 100 only through the Upwork. Yeah. So, and this was like the beginning, when we had like 10 clients maybe, or something like that in the US already. So basically, this was the start.
From the startup perspective, is just a start, and just start, just do, and at the end you're proving the point that you could do it, and you start making your name of them, and the client is going to refer you to other topics. So there's not a lot of business idea. You were executing. Why the States?
Why States?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Probably for the platform.
I would say, so there's one interesting thing. So basically at Sombra, we are a service company, not a product company. That's the huge difference. Service company. So yeah, basically we have 35 clients, and for each of them we help to build their products, basically, or it may not be like an external product, it may be some software that automates business. And this is a very important thing going into it, because like I would say, my CTO role is not very typical to the CTO role of a product. So because basically I'm,
ambivalent, because you have to see a lot of
we have a lot of stacks. I mean, and that's not that I could come to the client and say, hey, your stack is not that good, you should switch there, because they have their own CTO and they decide. But I could advise, and I could say, and I need to, and that's what we do basically, to advise them and say, hey, look, you could move faster with this improvements, you could go faster with this. So it's not that I could enforce it. Basically, the CTO of the companies of our clients are selecting everything, driving everything, but I act as as an advisor, and I and my engineers and Sombra and as advisors and consultants to their stack. So basically coming back to the question. Forgot what was the question, but anyway.
No, it doesn't mind. But I love where you went there, because it's. When we imagine where we want to be, so if we do the roadmap of the engineering job, you start at junior, you do some things, you move to senior level, sometimes to architect, sometimes technical lead, and so on. But you went to the CTO of the company. When you go to the CTO of the company, when you are in a product company, it's like a easier job, because you have one stack and you have to build in that stack, and so you have to start looking through what's new that adds value to your team, and sometimes you get blind, but not because you are not looking through, but because you are focused on improve your team, that you are blind to other topics. In your roadmap, you have to be like a higher level CTO, because you have to keep looking to the stack of your different customers and so on, and do that advisory is for me. When I was in the other side of this job, I was in the research team, so I was always not in the stack that the product needs, but in the future stack. It's tough, because you have to do it in this technology, because this is the future. It's a difficult conversation to have, because you have been invested. When you are in the product, you are invested a lot of time. You have already tech built there. You do these move things is tough. But
it's another roles, like I would say, yeah. So like CTO and service company, CTO and product company, they are like different. I enjoy mine more actually because before starting Sombra, I tried to do my startup, like, you know, as every engineer, I guess, or most of the engineers think. So I tried to do a startup, and I was like a CTO in my own startup, but I was like one-man army. And, you know, yeah, basically after some point, I understand, okay, so I understand what's going on everywhere and everything. So even if I have a team of 10 people, I still understand what's going on. But here in the service company, because we have 35 clients, each of them have their own specific business context and their business model, and it's really interesting to see how they, you know, solve this with the technology. And exactly, like, we could learn so much more from that, because yeah, basically, even if I'm going to the meetups and everything, but if I have one product, yeah, basically I'm a little bit blindsided by this, my own stack. So because I could experiment, but it's also cost.
Never is going to be the same.
Yeah.
Yuriy, it was a pleasure to talk to you, but to end, what read do you, what book do you recommend us to read? Okay. What you are reading right now?
Oh yeah, I mean, that would be not very traditional from my side, because as I said, like, there are like a lot of technological books. So I would really like recommend one which I really found like yeah, and it's totally not from a technical world, but from the business world, but it's very clean and simple. It's called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, and I think it applies basically to any industry and everything, and it's about the proactivity, about how do you communicate and be more transparent, more clear. And it's written, I guess, like in pretty simple language. It's translated to a lot of languages, it's like a bestseller. So this is the one that I would really advise. Technology books, for the junior level, I would say it's really hard. Like, learn design patterns, like try to experiment with them, because it's really hard to get them right. But if you try at the junior level, you'll make a lot of mistakes, but in the middle level, you will be like really good and skilled at that. So design patterns, I wouldn't recommend some books, because the one that I read was like written in 2000s, like, yeah. But now, I mean, just invest time into that, because it allows you to think more abstract. And this helps you, you know, to go from the specific to the abstract, from the abstract to the specific, and it really develops your brain to think much more better. Yeah, and for the seniors, I would advise like Software Architecture in Practice book, which is really nice, and it really wraps up all the experience that I had, for instance. And yeah, so this one.
And what are we going to see from Sombra in the near future here in Medellin or something?
I know. I hope we grow here faster and faster. So I would really love to see the milestone of 50 engineers here, 100 engineers here. We plan to participate in the events here. I will try to learn more Spanish to be able at least to speak 10% like in Spanish. And yeah, basically Perfect. That's our plans.
Thanks for being with us. It was a pleasure.
It was a really nice conversation.
Nos vemos en el próximo. Chao, chao.